Hello there, audience. I'd like to apologize. You will not be able to see my face today. Today, I'm going to show you some dirt on everyone's favorite circumcision advocate, Brian J. Morris. I'm unskilled in use of video editing software, but I'm showing you around his website. He has his guides for parents. And quite a few other things here. But today, and I'm clicking on here directly so that you can see I'm not going anyplace else. We go to this third-party website. It says, this website is aimed at evaluating the age-old custom of circumcision. This site consists of two components, namely the section containing text and a mini gallery displaying the various styles of circumcision. What are the advantages of circumcision? And a generic model of the thought process preceding voluntary circumcision. Well, let's take a look at that too. And we can ask you later to see how true this is as a general rule. Phase 1, becoming aware of your uncircumcised states. Cosmetic, embarrassed by appearance, medical reasons, phimosis, circumcision is unavoidable, purely a matter of style and functionality. Religious considerations, peer pressure, an unverbalized emotional desire to conform to group norms. Cultural factors, symbolically displaying kinship in society, similar to scarring and tattooing. A requirement by a lover. A critical incident imprinted on the person as a child, seeing a younger brother being circumcised. Phase 2, information gathering. This stage is very much a personal and a private pre-decision stage where information is actively gathered. Informal information gathering takes place, should or not have it done. Comparing yourself with others. Seriously considering the perceived perception of pain and suffering. Agreeing to the seemingly inconceivable act of someone cutting your penis. Say, phase 3, actively making the decision. A critical stage is reached when the person emotionally and rationally has to make a decision. No, maybe it is just an erotic fantasy. For the moment, rejected. Rationally rejected, but is not emotionally resolved and will therefore resurface. Permanently disregard. Complete rational and emotional acceptance of being uncircumcised. Yes! The conflict is resolved. Person now needs to find how to implement the decision. Phase 4, planning the method. The person has to go public to some degree. The home doctor is usually first consulted and then others, e.g. your friends or a lover. Information gathering is not very much determined by personal means. They're all very much determined by personal needs in the situation the individual finds himself in. If the person is to be ritually, parentheses, tribally circumcised, he has very little choice regarding the method and is really dependent upon the skill of the cutter. One, low and tight, high and tight, low and tight with cut hidden in pubic area, either to remove the frenulum, sub-incision, and widening the meatus. Phase 5, finding the person to do the circumcision, usually via the house doctor, who will cut traditional circumcision, mohel doctor, urologist, plastic surgeon, a friend, circlist member. The ability to discuss the type of cut required with your personal circumciser is crucial at this stage. A voluntary circumcision is not motivated by functional need, but reasons mostly only known to the individual. Bear in mind that the circumcision is for his benefit and enjoyment. It is therefore critical that the type of cut and amount of skin to be removed must be discussed beforehand. If there is to be any certainty if the requirements will be met, please consider finding someone else. Phase 6, the issue of anesthesia and the methods used. At this stage, the social-cultural situation the individual finds himself in will to some extent determine the method and the emotional connotation that will be attached to the event. It is in stage 6 and 7 where the individual adds long-term meaning to the event. Your circumciser will give some indication what he prefers. No anesthesia used. Usually the procedure is followed when the circumcision is performed as a rite of passage. In most southern African countries, it is an event during which the person has to publicly display his ability to endure pain. The interaction between pain, cultural norms, and taboos has the maximum impact during this type of procedure. Local anesthesia, you can view the process of being circumcised. Full anesthesia, you simply wake up circumcised. This is the least stressful method. Sexual stance session, circumcised with or without local anesthesia, with some kind of erotic interaction in between. The method used. Main cut method. Freehand could result in a ragged cut, but makes the frenulum removal easy. Tear clamp, frenulum retained, long-winded healing process. Gumco clamp, cut appearance is predictable, and the frenulum is always retained. Very safe method. The operation. A full shave of the area is not required, but trimming is advisable to ease the cleaning afterwards. Depending on the skill of the surgeon, the operation usually lasts 20 to 40 minutes. If you opt to have the frenulum removed without being circumcised, be prepared for a slightly longer recovery period. If a local anesthesia is used, you should be mobile immediately. If not, be prepared to spend at least a day in a hospital recover from anesthesia. Phase 8. Post-operative care. What can you expect to happen? Day 1. The penis shaft will most likely blur from the internal bleeding and appear to be distorted from the swelling. The thicker the Foreskin, the longer the healing process and more severe the body's response. Do not be perturbed. A wet antiseptic lotion needs to be applied to the loan. Add 100 milliliters of iodine to your bath during the first 2 days in order to prevent infections and facilitate the shedding of dead tissue. Alternatively, add a handful of coarse sea salt to the water. Salt helps to dry and disinfect the wound. Use antibiotics for 5 days as an internal safety measure. Day 2.7. There might be some discomfort from midnight erections. If required, anti-erection medicine can be prescribed. Or discomfort levels, if any, will drop dramatically by the second day. Visible arteries that were tied off during the operations will start to shrink. The corona might be oversensitive, but this will gradually disappear. Week 2. Swelling should be considerably down with a more normal skin color. Change from a wet antiseptic lotions will change to a quick drying type. Monochrome in order to keep the wound dry. Day 10 rule of stitches usually takes place. If self-dissolving stitches were used, there might be some small marks visible. With this stage, you may feel a bit emotionally stressed by the inconvenience and lack of sexual relief. Again, this is normal, but refrain from any sexual activity which could cause stress on the wound. Add a handful of salt to the water when bathing. Week 3, the bandages should now be off with complete bonding of skin. You should be able to masturbate better or should be avoided for another week. Some swelling in the wound area might still be present, but will reduce and soften every week. Blossoming out of the coronal rim. What you can expect in the phase 9, what you can expect in the long run. Blossoming of the coronal rim in 4 to 6 months. 2, a more localized area of sensitivity. The possible development of a definite G-spot, depending on the method used. A small to quite visible circumcision scar. Many men report they feel sexually much more confident in sexual situations knowing that they are circumcised. A total new experience of sex caused by the more direct friction on the coronal rim. It might take slightly longer to reach the critical moment when penile sensitivity increases just prior to orgasm. Once that critical moment has been reached, your coronal sensitivity will be on par with any uncircumcised man. It only takes longer to reach that moment. 6, disbelief that the procedure was so simple and relatively painless. Stimulated by a new perception of sex, a possible willingness to explore other forms of penile modification. Depending on the amount of sexual activity, a small amount of shaft skin stretching will take place. Phase 9, emotionally much more at ease with your cut status towards a possible improvement of self-image. Yeah, right. Many men opt to have the frenulum removed as a final stage in the circumcision. By a new bounce in life, having resolved the fear of circumcision and enjoying your circumcised status, you can move on with other growth aspects of your life. Now that I've read you that collection of garbage, let's go to what I was coming here to show you. You see, we came here directly from Brian Morse's website, and now I'm putting in his password. P R O E I R C. Procirc. Quite an imagination this guy has. I'm right in. Wonder what totally therapeutic stuff he has on here. Short circumcision stories. The Doctor and Darren, Terry Circumcision, Taryn the Doctor, sequel to The Doctor and Darren, Fair Exchange, Terry and the Skikad. Looks like this is fetishistic fiction. And these displays of penises right here don't look like they're being done totally professionally. And just to make sure to summarize it for you, my dear audience, I don't really want to read any of the stories. You can certainly find this URL yourself, my dear audience. But just to summarize it again, in case you started to fall asleep through the whole thing. They care to view the images and what a charming set of healthy interest our beloved Dr. Morris has. Huh? Huh? We understand him, don't we? His concern with circumcision is totally out of an interest in public health.